the one which I said, constant return scale. This thing of saying if you double inputs, you double outputs is great. Okay? We cannot believe that. That once you double your inputs, for example, as I said, 2 inputs give you 10, and therefore 4 inputs will give you 20. There was no justification for them to assume that the function is a linear relationship, constant return. It shows constant return to scale. It cannot be what you find on the ground. Because usually what you get is either increasing or decreasing return. So, instead of having a simple straight line like this, in actual life, it can actually not be like that. It can either be like this, for example, or you can have several peaks, like very sharp, and then you can have all shapes of relationships as you increase your inputs. So either you can have a fast increasing, you increase your input, let's say for example, maybe you're adding, what inputs can we have? I'm trying to think of an example that makes sense. You increase, okay, maybe wages, labor. You have 2 employees, you produce maybe 3 bags of maize. So if you have 5 instead of 2 employees, 5 employees might actually give you 20 bags. So, sorry?
On the same one.
Yeah. 2 employees might give you 5, and then you have 5 give you 20. So if you see that 2 gave you, which means on average you have 2.5, right? On average here you have 4 per unit of labor. So it is an increasing rate. So an increasing rate will actually be very steep when you draw it. To be steep because it's increasing. But so this is an increase from there to here. But you can also have a decrease. So for example, if we wanted to show that, for example, 1 employee might give you 1, 2 employees give you 5, 3 employees give you say 10, 4 employees give you. So anyway, let's see. So here you have 1, you have 4, you have 5. So let's say 16. Okay? So this is an increasing scale, increasing return, because this production function is giving you increasing return. You increase your labor by 1, okay? and you gain 4. From 1 to 5, right? So you increase from 2 to 3 and you gain 5. You increase workers to 4, you gain 6. Okay? The gain for employing additional person. So you have increasing return. Not constant return as scope tax says. Okay? You can also have, in most cases, you reach a maturity, a stage where you can no longer enjoy it. So, for example, you employ another one to make them 5. You may find yourself that you get 20. So, what have you gained? 4. Okay? You employ an additional one. You get 23. You have only gained 3. So from here downward, here you have a decreasing scale, decreasing return for each additional. So we will see that when we combine these things with cost, the decision-making process becomes different. It depends on the cost of those factors. Here we're just looking at the relationship between inputs and outputs. Okay? That's the production function. So this one here is increasing and later on starts decreasing. So you have, that's why you have a graph like this, because what you are getting here are increasing. Now what you are starting getting here are decreasing. What you are getting there is decreasing. You are no longer gaining mass. Now that's going down. So it's not always straight like that, the way Cobb diagrams are saying. It's not always just straight. What you have put there is actually happening in practice. It's not just an imagination. You can have it. That as you add more and more people, they start, I don't know, disguising each other or what. They start, you are likely, anyway, this is just my personal, it's not in the textbook. You might start finding, you have employed some people who are jokers and funny. Aya but majoke mweche kumuja or munda kuja but atakauseka asiakulima. The probability that you find a joker, somebody who is very funny, is higher when you employ more and more people. Right? Paka umpezi kuna watu wanapata. See, that's it. Yeah. So we cannot rule out this thing happening. That as you increase, you start finding yourself food production per person is actually going down. And you will find that at one point you will see that it's not economical to continue increasing. So far, any questions? One thing also that we can talk about for the Cobb diagram thing is that they assume that these inputs you can always divide them into pieces. Okay? Divide them into pieces. It's not possible all the time that you can divide. There can be some instances of indivisibility. Indivisibility, meaning you cannot put them into units, these inputs. Sometimes they come in a chunk. You cannot, because this linear thing assumes that you can divide some of these labor and capital, you can divide it into small units, into pieces. And it is the fourth criticism is that this Cobb-Douglas production function is based on substitutability of factors of production. That you can substitute these factors. And it forgets the complementarity of factors. That you can divide your labor and your capital, and you can substitute capital for labor, labor for capital, like that. It's a problem, I think, in real life, to believe that you can substitute factors like that. We are forgetting, or they are forgetting, or they forgot that sometimes you have factors which are complementary to each other. Okay? That, for example, in our case of producing, say, for example, maize, you will find that you can have the labor, but you need a complementary thing to work with that labor. So you cannot just say, oh, so much labor and reduce on capital, or so much capital and reduce on labor. So some of these inputs are complementary, like a human being will need a hoe. Without a hoe, the job will not be done. So the labor and the capital, in this case, the equipment is the capital. You need to put them together. They complement each other. Okay? This model assumes, some of the assumptions it has is that you can substitute. Okay? In real life, some of the inputs are complementary to each other, so they have to go together. So you cannot always substitute. So that's another weakness. The assumption is also based on perfect competition. Perfect competition in the factor market. Perfect competition in the factor market. It is not always true that there will be a perfect competition in factor market. Did we do perfect market conditions in this class? No. Did we? No. So anyway, maybe you understand better about perfect competition later on. We will ever come to that. I'm not sure whether the first outline allows us to do that. But perfect competition basically means that there are no barriers to access, for example, labor and capital. It's always available to everybody, and you know where to get it. Everybody knows how to get it, and there are so many other conditions of perfect for a market to be perfect. But one of them is what I've just mentioned. There are no barriers, and there's free movement of factors of production. So this function, this model of Douglas model assumes that factors can you always find labor and capital when you need it, basically. So it's assuming that the market is perfect. You always find labor and capital whenever you need it. In real life, that is not true. Sometimes you may need labor and it's not available. Sometimes you may need capital and it's not available, for whatever reason, for a variety of reasons. So the market is not always, the factor market is not always perfect as the model assumes. And I think the number 6 criticism is to do with aggregation problem. I told you that they came up with this using empirical evidence that they gathered in the manufacturing industry. And so they generalized that what they found in some of these films is true for all the films in that industry. And that gives us an addition problem or aggregation problem, that you cannot, what you find in one industry, you cannot just assume that for all the firms or companies in that industry, they will have a similar function. Generalizing for the whole industry from data that you have gathered from a few individual firms poses what they call aggregation problems. So if you apply that function to every company or business in an industry, so that you can understand the behavior of the entire industry, that becomes a problem. So these production functions can be different from small companies to big companies, even though they are in the same industry. That's what we need. You can be all in the cement industry, or you can all be in the mandazi industry, but you may have different functions, production functions, depending on your size, for example. You may be a small producer, somebody might be a big producer. They are all in the same industry. So you cannot generalize. There might be some differences, technical differences, even in the same industry. So there might actually be many different production functions based as the number of films in that industry. So films, when I'm interchanging films and business, I hope you understand me. Film means business unit, whether we call them. I need to write because sometimes you see the problem of error and R. I didn't mean this. how do you pronounce these places? So anyway, what I mean by firms is business, company. So you can be in the same industry, but some are big, some are small. So you can actually have different production functions in that industry, and aggregation will be a problem. Okay? When we say different production functions, I hope it should be in your mind that what is a production function? The relationship between input and output. So these companies in that same industry, because some are big, some are small, they may have actually different production functions in that industry. Okay, so let's look at another person, another group of people actually, who also try to understand production functions. And these guys Harold and Duma. Harold and Doma. So you have what we call Harold and Duma model. So Harold and Duma, they also try to explain. Remember what I said about the model? The model is tries to explain how something can happen and how it will happen again in the future. That's what the model. So we have the Cobb Douglas model, and then we also have the Harold and Duma. These are surnames of two economists, Harold and Duma. These were a bit recent, I think in the 1940s. That's when they came up with that. Unlike Cobb and Douglas, way before that. But Harold and Duma is more recent compared to Cobb Douglas. Now, Harold and Duma is basically an economic growth model. Okay? So maybe before I talk about this, I may have to make sure I explain, because we are talking about output, right? Output. I think initially I talked about, you remember when I was trying to define economics, I also talked about microeconomics and macro, right? Yes. I said macro is more at a national level, aggregate. Micro study behaviors of households, individuals, households, businesses, or film companies. That's micro. But when we add everybody up, then we have macro. Okay? Now, when we are talking about this production, once you produce, you and me and that one, when we add all up, we can tell that Malawi has produced ABCD. Okay? So, let's say we have 10 million tons of maize this year. Last year we had 8 million tons. This year we have 10. Next year we have 12. Next year, the other year we have 15. This increase in output is called economic growth. Economic growth is not necessarily economic development. There's a difference. This is just economic growth. There's more and more output. More and more output. Okay? Now, the Cobb Douglas was talking about output. How you relate inputs and outputs. Okay? That's the production function. Input, output. We are trying to study that. The relationship. Input, output. Input, output. Okay? This output thing is when you look at it from year to year, it's what gives you whether you have economic growth or not. Are you growing? Okay? Are you growing or you are not? So if your output is growing, remember production function, we are studying the relationship between input and output. Now, some of these people are trying to explain this output growth. Okay? This production function or production model as proposed by Harold and Duma. Harold Duma model is about the growth in output. How can we explain it? How can we explain the growth in output? So, as I said, model explains. A model explains. How can we explain this growth in output? Harold and Duma model tries to explain how growth in output happens. Economic growth. How it happens. And why it will happen again. As a model. Okay? So, economic growth. He's trying to explain, these two guys are trying to explain the economic growth. So, for them, the way they have tried to explain economic growth is that they are using especially capital. Capital. Okay? They are trying to, so for them, it's not much of the labor. You remember the Cobb Douglas was labor and capital. These people are more about capital. They think capital is the engine of growth. The Harold Duma model. They are more concerned about capital. So they are trying to explain how you can grow, how people grow, or how countries grow based on their assumption that capital and capital formation. So capital growth, capital formation. they have tried to use that as their, so for them, economic growth or output growth depends on the amount of capital available for investment. So they are more concerned about how capital grows, capital for investment. And the rate of capital, how you grow capital with the or capital accumulation is dependent on the rate of saving. How much do you save? If you save and invest, you grow. You save and invest, you grow. So the rate of growth will depend on your saving rate and capital formation. So that's the Harold Moon. Mr. Harold and Duma these guys here, so they all have so I'll make sure the paper goes round as I'm teaching, so that by the end of the day, single let's keep on signing. I hope we do not disturb you or listening. So we have increased investment, that might lead to what? Higher capital stock. So this will lead to higher economic growth. And that will also lead you to higher saving. Right? So higher saving will lead you to higher or increased investment. So basically, this Duma guy is higher or increased investment will lead to higher capital stock. Higher capital stock will lead to higher economic growth, and so on. what we are saying here is that it depends on, economic growth depends on the amount of capital available for investment. And that the rate of capital accumulation is proportional to the rate of savings. That's what we are saying. Okay? So if you save and invest, you will grow the economy. If you were left alone from here, just presenting that and leave it to you to start thinking about what's wrong here. What would come first to your mind? What would come to your mind? What's the problem there? What would be your problem?
Yeah, like they have failed to report other factors of production, like that the cost can be very high for somebody. Please, they have a very lack of knowledge.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else who thinks otherwise? For a lot of countries, especially here in Malawi and developing countries, you can actually see that this will be a problem. If you look at this one, there will be a problem. And for you to assume that when you have savings, then you will have investment. It's also another problem. Just look at Malawi as yourself. To think that you will have higher savings because you have higher income. Because this entails that you have higher income, because it means higher output. So if, for example, if you are producing more and more maize and more whatever, you will have higher income, higher economic growth. Okay? And it's assuming that all higher income growth will lead to higher savings. There's a problem there already. Most of us here in Malawi, for example, what happens when you have more money? You start having those things that you miss in life. Instead of saving and investing, yeah. The people have so many wants which just get about fulfilled when you have more income. So once you sell more maize, doesn't mean that you have higher savings. It's not always like that. And higher savings does not necessarily mean that you have higher investment. Sometimes people save very temporary. You know, maybe they might not spend all the money they received this month, but it will go, all of it will go next month. They are not, for developing countries, poor countries, this model is fine, explains that capital is important because, for example, you remember when we had this, and we said you can grow like that, and it can shift to the right once you have new technology. Okay? So this higher investment, if you really can find, it would lead you to higher capital stock. If you invest it in technology, for example, so you can do better, it can lead you to move your production higher and higher. That is true. It can. But there are problems in transforming savings into investment and investment into capital stock. Not every investment leads to capital formation. So we should be a bit careful. For now, maybe I need to get some questions if you have any, before I go into, before I decide that we can do more about this next week. Whichever I decide, whether to continue or let it go. Any questions? So this house Duma model, I hope you have understood that it explains. It tries to explain on how a country grows. How a country grows. The model. It shows you that the national saving is very important. National saving is very important. And capital productivity, capital stock, capital productivity, because it shows saving through capital. Saving is equal to investment. If we wanted, or if we chose, you could prove or try to prove mathematically how investment is equal to saving, or saving is equal to investment. If your class was going towards producing full economies, these are some of the things that we try to show in class. How saving is equal to investment. How you can prove that. So it's this notion that you can get economic growth out of the productivity of capital. Capital is considered as the key in Harold Bloom model. Capital is the driving force. The productivity of capital is the driving force. So you need, at a national level, you need to save and invest. You need to save and invest. And we can show you, for example, if we are going towards doing macro, we can show you how financial institutions come in as catalysts of this notion of investment and saving. Go and read more about Harold Bloom and Bob Douglas. If you have any questions that you don't understand, come back to me, and either on the forum, on our WhatsApp, you can ask, or you can directly send me if you don't understand some of the Bob Douglas and Harold Bloom models. Okay?
How about the evaluation?
Right?
How about the evaluation? What is the
Okay, no, we'll do that later. When we go through what we covered today, I'll briefly probably give you the formula as well. But basically, their formula is basically savings and investment. Capital formation and capital productivity. So these things are very important for you to understand in relation to production factors. So next week we might do a little bit more about this and then move on to cost functions. So that we cover enough material for your mid-semester exam. Okay, I see some such cases in you. Are you happy? What's wrong? Huh? You haven't had your breakfast like me or what? Today I have not seen happy faces. Are you okay? Be happy. Life is like not always me. Okay, see you next week. Make sure you sign. Sorry, there has been some complaints. We have been asked to tell you guys that when some lecturers release students earlier than the time, a lot of students make noise. So when you go out of here, please, other classes might still be in session, right? So don't make out of noise because there have been some complaints. So we have all been asked to tell you, when you are in this area at time, please move quietly until maybe you reach that car park. That's where you can start making noise. Because we stay water. Okay? Stay free. I hope this speaker is No. It explains part of the problem.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. I'll post them maybe. So, without photo. Okay. We finished that last one. You didn't get it. Someone I get it. That's all. Yeah, if you are doing price test. Yeah. If you are doing income system, you have particular character change income. Yes. Yes. This is the change. So, for example, once they have moved from 100 to 120, how do you find percentage change? You know. Or you produce 80, now in 100, then one wants to produce 80. What is the percentage? Similarly, I would use 100 minus 80 divided by 100 times 100. Sure. Percentage change. Sure. So, is that it? You can call me or send your questions to WhatsApp with the internet for the problem. I think we have a now, right?